I probably underestimated the value of these spaces to people and communities. It's not just a community garden in their neighbourhood. It's a place where they can meet their neighbours, they can deal with loneliness, deal with their own personal challenges, get out and about, get some, learn something new. Hi, I'm Navdeep. I'm chair of the National Park City Foundation, and we're in Heston Community Garden just by Heathrow Airport. So today's the Harvest Festival, so it's a chance for all the volunteers to enjoy the produce that they've been making through the year. They've cooked lots of dishes, we've got lots of volunteers back together, and they're just spending some time together to celebrate their amazing work over the summer and the spring. So I mean, the difference between, we had a video here last year, we presented from the Harvest Festival, and the big change between then and now is we do have, I think it's 19, I hope I've got the number right, rangers in Hounslow, and quite a number of the rangers who are based in Hounslow are involved in today's event. They're either involved in the community garden itself, they're involved in organisations around Hounslow and Heston, other community gardens, litter picking groups, groups who do art in nature, and they've all collaborated together to come here today. So I think we have 6 or 7 rangers here today working together to make it a success. The Heston Community Garden started about 6 years ago, and since then there have been lots of other places that have popped up around the garden, supported by the volunteers here and also supported by the local authority. The community garden itself has got quite a few volunteers who have become National Park City Rangers, and that's through the connection that Heston Action Group, who run the community garden, have had with the National Park City Foundation. So they were involved in the original launch, they've been very involved in the development of it over the years, and they see the value of the connection that they have to other groups around the borough and outside of the borough. They see the value of being part of something bigger, not just community gardening, but also dealing with issues like the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis at a city level. They see support from having colleagues who they can network with and share information with. And through that, we've managed to get quite a few rangers who not only are connected to the Heston Community Garden and to Heston Action Group, but also use this space to support their activities. So some of the rangers have had events in the garden. So for instance, Anil had a most amazing moth night.
So Moth Night was my idea of trying to get people to learn a little bit about local wildlife. I think while we're in an area which has got lots of green around us, lots of wildlife around us, lots of people don't really notice it or know much about it. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to get people into the garden and advertise it as a gathering rather than a moth night, with the moth session on the poster. The idea being that if we get as many people as possible into the garden, maybe they'll stay for the moths and learn something by accident. And I think it worked. Nancy,
one of our volunteers, has been going out and about from the community garden and taking plants from the community garden to plant in pocket gardens around the area.
These were actually areas of pavement that had been depaved, the tarmac and the paving stones taken up by Hounslow Highways about a year ago. But as with so many volunteer projects, it needs somebody to then say, okay, we're going to take that on and do it. And it just came together quite nicely in the last couple of months, as much as anything to do with me getting involved with the London National Park City Show Garden at RHS Hampton in July. So as a result of being involved in that, I was lucky enough to be donated some of the plants that had been in that show garden for use here and in these pocket gardens. So there's me now with a set of plants that I can plant in these areas that otherwise I would have not quite known where to get the plants from.
We've got Tariq, who did an amazing project with Chiswick House, one of the other big parks in the area, about accessibility in nature. Again, he uses a lot of the information and support he gets from this garden to help with that.
Well, it's all about disability awareness. Obviously, there's not many green spaces in Hounslow or beyond that are wheelchair accessible. So I was like, let me think of a project I can do to promote to try and persuade the council that disability need to be heard.
So this garden's become a really great place for people to connect, share ideas, and know that they've got a place that they can meet others and they can base themselves at. So, and also experiment and try something new. So the gazebo, really the main aim of that was school kids, right? So we were getting lots of school kids in to help with some of the tree planting, some of the edible growing projects. And like today, the weather was unpredictable and schools are a bit sensitive about weather. So we would get lots of cancellations, and the gazebo was supported by the Mayor of London and the GLA to give us a learning space that we could bring people together. And we don't just use it for schools, we use it for community groups and the Rangers. So we've had a Rangers event here where we've brought Rangers from Hounslow and other areas together.
And today is the autumn celebration. It's a mark of all the effort that's been put in this garden.
This is a testament to all the volunteers and all the organisations in the Borough of Hounslow.
Working with nature forces you to look at the details, at the very small things.
What we've done through that is just try to create the community garden as not just a place of gardening, but just as a place of community and connection as well, so that people don't feel they have to come here and get their hands dirty in the soil. They could come here and have a cup of tea, they could meet their neighbours, they could come and do a photography class that Ranger O'Neill runs. They could come and talk about bird watching, which is our next new venture. They could come and do a bit of Qigong, which we've tried as well. So they could try different things that are not necessarily gardening, but it gets them out of the house, it gets them to meet others, and it also gets them quite interested in nature and asking questions about trees and the pond, and maybe developing that little bit of enthusiasm for coming out themselves and getting their hands dirty and helping the movement grow and do more. I probably underestimated the value of these spaces to people and communities. So I've had, through dialogue with volunteers and visitors, really got to understand how people see this as such an essential thing in their lives. It's not just a community garden in their neighbourhood. It's a place where they can meet their neighbours, they can deal with loneliness, deal with their own personal challenges, get out and about, get some, learn something new. And so it just means a lot more to them than one might think. And I think that I've probably underestimated that the community gardens are essential actually to our, particularly nowadays when we've got all sorts of challenges going on, they're essential to bringing communities together. We had a huge number of people come last year who were asylum seekers who felt very vulnerable in light of what was going on around the country, and they were able to find friends here, find some comfort in a space that they felt safe in. And again, through speaking to them, you could see the value that they found in this place. And that for me has been one of the biggest learning points for me. It's very clear when you look across London that there are pockets of activity and pockets of less activity. And that's driven by all sorts of socioeconomic issues. It's driven by politics, by local authorities. It's driven by funding opportunities, about whether communities are facing other issues and other challenges. And one of the things we really must focus on is that as we grow activity related to nature, we don't just do it in places where it already exists. We also do it in places where that connection is a bit more tenuous and where we can really drive improvement. So what we really want to try and do is ensure that every neighbourhood in London has access to community gardens, that groups like Heston Action Group exist. If they can exist in Heston, they can exist anywhere in London. And how do we help small groups that are getting set up grow their membership, support their activity, encourage more activity connected to nature right across London, in every borough, in every ward, not just where we currently have lots of activity. So that's a big important focus for me.